All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about what an up-and-coming young fighter who's getting his name out there in the boxing world more and more had to say about his experience with Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford in sparring, and what he says one of these guys don't like that could be the difference in the fight. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about what Brian Norman Jr. has to say about the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight. And let me tell you why I think it's important, because Brian Norman Jr. is one of the best up-and-coming young fighters that people have not heard of. Terrific young fighter, has been sparring partner for some of the best fighters in boxing, including Terence Crawford, including Gervonta Tank Davis. So his insights into the fight, I think, should be respected. And honestly, man, what he said really intrigued me, because I noticed a little bit of the same thing. Now, before I get into the specifics, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a longtime subscriber and supporter to the channel, thank you so much for your support on the channel. Thank you for continually checking out the videos that we do in the video format and in the live stream format. If you're new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. All right, so let's talk about it, man. First and foremost, shout out to YSM Sports Media. Do great interviews, great show over there, great channel over there. A lot of people ask me, look, why don't you just post what people have to say so I can hear what people have to say? I don't do that because that's not my property. And plus, I give you the added a little bit of what I think about what the man's saying, so we can chop it up in the comment sections and go back and forth on that. But this is what Brian Norman said when he's asked about the fight. He said, look, there are some things that I noticed about Errol Spence Jr. and things I noticed about Terence Crawford. He was asked who he thought would win the fight. He's like, look, man, to tell you the truth, I'm going with Errol Spence Jr. in this particular fight. However, when he talked about what each guy needed to, what weaknesses they had, he talked about Errol Spence Jr.'s weakness. And it was one that was a little bit surprising to me, in that he said that Errol Spence Jr. doesn't like shots to the body, right? He said you could tell from the Yordenis Ugas fight that if you see when he gets hit with body shots, that, that is something he doesn't like. Now, he said, now, most people don't like body shots, and I think that's fair. Like, nobody really likes to get hit with body shots, but specifically said that Errol Spence Jr. didn't like it. Now, and that it showed in the Yordenis Ugas fight. Now, for me, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people know that I picked Errol Spence Jr. in the fight, even though I know that it is a very, very close fight. The fight really could go either way, but there is something that I did see with the Terence Crawford Sean Porter fight and the Errol Spence Jr. Yordenis Ugas fight that I cannot lie, I definitely did see that little wrinkle, and I thought about that little wrinkle, and it is real close to what Brian Norman is saying, which was the uppercut to the body. In the fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Yordenis Ugas, Yordenis Ugas early on in the fight had success when he would spin out to the side on Errol Spence Jr., turn Errol Spence Jr., and at the same time that he turned Errol Spence Jr., he hit him with an uppercut to the body, and I think he did it 2 times. And to me, it did look like it gave Errol Spence Jr. pause during the times that he did it. Now, Errol Spence Jr. made an adjustment to it and pretty much shut that down after that. But he definitely did, get his attention with those uppercuts to the body. And those, I do believe, are the same type of uppercuts that I saw Terence Crawford throw against Sean Porter. And I thought that really changed the tide for the fight, in that fight between Terence and Sean, when Terence Crawford started throwing very heavy uppercuts to the body. He wasn't looking to throw his uppercut to the head. He shifted it down to the middle of the chest, chest, and you could see how that uppercut to the sternum really did pause and basically freeze up Sean Porter. So that punch is definitely something that uppercut is definitely something that is in the repertoire of Terence Crawford, and it's something that I've seen give Errol Spence Jr. pause in the fight against Yordenis Ugas. Now, another thing that Brian Norman Jr. said was that, and I don't know if he was talking about Terence Crawford or whether he was talking about Errol Spence Jr., because it was kind of got mixed up a little bit. But he said also that then I believe he was talking about Errol Spence Jr., that when you start punching, Errol stops punching. So now when I heard that, I thought to myself, nah, I've never really seen that. I've never seen that when you see like Yordenis Ugas start to punch, that somehow Errol Spence Jr. shells up. I haven't seen that. I would have thought that would be more of something that he would say around Terence Crawford, that when you're punching with Terence Crawford, that typically Terence Crawford is not punching, because I think that is a little bit more accurate. But although without a doubt, when you're throwing, Terence Crawford will throw, because and you've seen it, he's one of these guys that really does have tremendous counter punches, and when somebody is in an exchange, he will exchange with people. He will let his hands go at the same time other people are going, especially when he sees that gap. Now, what Brian Norman said about why he would pick Errol, as he said, look, Errol starts off fast. He said, now he may start off a little bit slow in the beginning of the first round, but by the time that the halfway through the first round is going by, Errol is picking up pace. He's putting up more steam. And then as the fight goes on, Errol Spence Jr. is putting more and more and more and more pressure on, where Terence Crawford takes 3 or 4 rounds to really start going. And in that first 5 to 6 round time frame, a lot of times Terence Crawford is down on the cards, and that's something that I've said and I believe to be the case, and one of the main reasons I'm picking Errol Spence Jr. to win the fight is because of the work rate with Errol. The work rate with Errol is going to make it difficult for Terence Crawford to win rounds in the first half of the fight, because Terence Crawford by and large is studying and trying to figure it out, unless, for one reason or another, Terence Crawford decides that he's really going to jump on the gas and really get out there on the gas in the first couple rounds. But if he does that, I don't know if that's going to bode well for him in the second half of the fight, because that's fighting out of character. And if you are showing your best and most aggressive self in the first several rounds and it doesn't work, or Errol Spence Jr. is able to deal with that and he's still able to put his pressure on, then where's that gear going to be for you in the second half of the fight, the way that Terence typically likes to do that, right? So, all in all, man, I just thought it was a really, really good observation from Brian Norman Jr. about that body work. And, Errol Terence may do exactly what Bozy Ennis, the trainer and father of Jaron, has said about how they would approach Errol, which was beat Errol at his own game, fighting on the inside, right? And really giving him something to worry about on that inside, which may then send him and make him make an adjustment to fight at mid-range or outside. But all in all, man, just great comments from Brian Norman Jr. Hopefully we get this fight soon, but it's definitely a lot of fun to continue to analyze it. You let me know what you think in the comment section about how you think it'll play out and what Brian Norman had to say. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.